record on.
Just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. And then this is the mic.
Oh, okay.
It catches really well.
Okay. All right, let's hope this goes good.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't. Okay. Just text me if you have issues.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Cool, thanks.
We are building a little barber shop here, and it's where he owns those three on the and this is perfect.
So it is 6:01.
Okay.
Welcome to the meeting of Central City Neighborhood Council. I'm Lila, I'm the secretary.
I'm Rihanna, I'm the chair, and we'll just go ahead and go around the room and everybody can just say your name and if you're a resident or business owner or about to live.
And once you, if you do say your name, I'm going to ask you to also please sign it. I'm not going to be able to. Who's that?
Yeah, go ahead.
That's nice. He's from my neighbor at the club. Or he's for himself.
I have three business properties.
Second south northeast transportation.
I'm Rebecca Allen, City Homeless Engagement and Response Team.
I am Chief Cosgrove, the mayor's office, the community liaison.
I'm Tiara. I'm just here. Do you guys want to, sorry, just pull up a chair so other people can see?
We're all about.
Can I stay?
All right, can you guys hear me? I'm trying to get this to work audioly. Oh, you can hear me? Okay, sorry. Trying to keep my face off the camera so you don't have to look at it. All right, so can Jean Stevenson, do you want to start and say hi?
Hi, I'm Jean Stevenson, and I'm on the board at the club, which is 150 South 300 East. And Brandy, I met you the other day in front of the building.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, you had a mascot. I didn't recognize you, but nice to see you again. And then, is it Sonam?
Well, I'm Gary Stevenson, the husband of Jean's. Convinced me to come. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. And it looks like we have a Neil.
Pardon?
Oh, we have a Neil too. I'm just trying to see if they're available. Neil?
Yes. Hello, this is Neil. This is Neil Vandermost. My wife, Audrey, and I are on the line. We're also members of the club. We saw your ad in our elevator.
Oh, awesome. Wonderful. So nice to have you all here.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else here yet, but I'll admit them if they come in. So here we go. What was that? Oh. All right, so feel free to jump in whenever you want. Keep yourselves muted until you speak, just so we don't have any feedback or weird audio issues. And I guess we'll get started.
Well, thanks everybody for being here. It's great to see some new faces. Let's go ahead and get started with city updates. Rebecca, you want to go first?
I will take those news. So, let's see, First Resource Fair, we're having next Friday at the Deal Number. I'm sure Tim will touch on the MSC a little bit more, but they are at 43 right now out of 50. So Switch Point is doing a really good job. If there is any, donations that anyone might want to give, you can always email carthall@slc.com. There's going to be, I think the county is predicting there might be a couple of cold blue days next week. So just as a reminder, cold blue, 15 degrees. And we won't move people, so they'll be staying where they are. We won't even clean around them because we got some notification from our team the other day wherein it's a bad look if we're even cleaning. We don't want people to know that it's not cold, right? So just be patient when it's cold outside with individuals. We're trying our best to get around and provide resources to everybody. And I think that's all I have. If you have any questions.
I will say, I don't know if you saw, we went and posted on social media today that to thank Anna for her service, we're collecting donations for the Geraldine E. King Center. And you can reach out to Cindy if you have something you'd like to donate. You're welcome to drop it off at the center yourself, or we'll take monetary donations as well. So thanks, Rebecca. Tim.
You should probably just expand a little bit on what the Rebecca shared. Homeless resource fairs are once a month. If you've never been to a homeless resource fair, it's a great opportunity to see all of the resources coming together in the city, accessible, making them be able to be accessed by our unsheltered residents. So if you haven't seen the scope of that, they provide this homeless resource fair the first Friday of every month. Second Friday of every month at a different location. So kids would experience that themselves to see firsthand the size and scope and investment that goes into that.
We always have volunteer opportunities too. You can email us again hearthall@city.com. And if you want to Google something with Google Kayak for Salt Lake City. We're the only city that does anything like we do. CNN did articles on it, and we're trying to expand it and bring resources to people where they are in remote areas.
That's HART and SLC Gov.
And the temporary shelter community, or the micro unit community, that we're calling it now, it's the 50 single unit, kind of like a tough shed location on 600 West and 3rd South. So Rebecca was sharing that there's 43 of those 50 spots that are now occupied. So we're excited that it's getting the word out, that it's being utilized. This is a pilot project that's funded by the state at $1 million and $500,000 from the city council. And if we can make this pilot successful, the state can replicate that to other areas throughout the state on state property. But we're doing this as an experiment that hasn't been done before here in Utah or in Salt Lake. So it doesn't work for everybody. I mean, homeless resource centers are more of a what do you call it?
The urgency is filling the gap for people who don't want to go to that conference.
Kind of like a dorm room setting, so dorm room setting,
Did you hear that there's one person who is already permanent?
Already,
Oh,
yeah,
that's exciting.
yeah, good job, Switch Point, yeah.
and SwitchPoint is the service provider. We also have any information that's more accessible. SLC Geo homelessness. So we have a dashboard with additional information. And I just had two things we had. The city received a $1 million grant from EPA that will be partnered with our Department of Sustainability to work on a net zero waste recycling projects. So we're kind of excited. Chosen from all of the cities in the United States as one of the cities. I think there was a total of 40, but we were one, and our sustainability. We have the point in time count, our heart team. So I work for the mayor's office. Rebecca's been our heart team, our homes engagement and resource team. So they coordinate this, but I just brought this point in time count.
We're having a hard time, I hate to interrupt, they're having a hard time hearing. I'm trying to move this closer,
Oh,
but anyone could speak up, that would be helpful. I'm gonna try to get this as close to.
So the point in time count is one time during the year where we count on the person's throughout the county. They do it in other counties as well, but we coordinate with Salt Lake County. And they're looking for volunteers. We go out 3 nights a week and they take the average. So they count every person in a homeless resource center and every person out of the street. And they take that number and get the average. So we have a better idea of what the needs are and how we can.
And it will touch your soul. You'll be going out you won't be going out by yourself. You'll be going out and talking to individuals and getting them where they are and just kind of seeing, kind of like their real life circumstances. And if you're able to come, awesome. Like it's a pretty moving experience. You don't have to volunteer for all 3 days either, but everywhere in the United States does point in time.
And the only other thing I have is January 4th through the 19th is Christmas tree pickup. So if you need a Christmas tree pickup, a former line. Any questions?
Last day for the yard. They usually keep that going through the Christmas tree. And they stop.
That would be January 19th. Thank you.
Anybody in the chat have questions for the mayor's office?
Can you guys hear okay? Do any of you have questions for the mayor's office? Tim Cosgrove that was just speaking. I don't know how well you heard him, but. Hello?
Can you hear me?
Oh gosh, there we go. Hi, Eva.
Hi, yes, I am about to pull up. I apologize. I was leaving another meeting, so I'm running late, but I'm about to be there, but no questions. Yeah, I'm about to walk up. Is that all right?
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll see you in a minute.
See you in a minute.
Excellent. Thank you all.
Let's see you in a sec. Bye.
Let's see. Well, she was actually next on the agenda, so. Chat amongst yourselves. for a minute.
We have a break for now. We're waiting for Eva to show up, so she'll be here in just a moment, guys.
So Brandy, maybe I can bring up an issue. I know you have all been working on initiative. We were talking about establishing the labor watch initiative between.
There's actually a bunch of owners from the club here tonight, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see Justin here. So we were talking about between First South and Second South on 30.
Yeah.
There, particularly on 100 South.
We've been working that area good lately.
Yeah, it's not something per se that the Salt Lake City Police Department oversees.
Oh, I know all about it, I talked to Stuart.
Yeah, it's just to try to build some confines around it. If there's resources available that we can connect you to, we're happy to connect you.
Yeah,
You know, our teams have been, like Detective Sam Valens, he did what's called a SEPTED review, crime prevention through environmental design.
oh, yeah, Barry told me about that meeting.
And they'll go walk through the neighborhood and look for those identifying areas that they've been trained in identifying where that crime could take place and how to better prepare and plan for avoiding those areas. Or
It's interesting, all the stuff they talk about, bushes and how things are in the yard and all sorts of things you would think about, you know.
and the lights, how they cast shadows or brighten an area that attract people.
Yeah, there's all sorts of
So,
stuff.
yeah, there's a lot to it. Any of those kind of resources we want to help support and build.
Cool.
You as well. So
Cool,
I know
wonderful.
you were overseeing that area. There's a few gentlemen.
And Ben. And so we're kind of, what I've been doing is just taking my business card and our Central City card and making contact with the different apartment buildings and like the businesses and residents and just trying to let them know we're around and, you know, I just say, give out my information if anyone has questions or concerns or wants to come to meetings. Because Neighborhood Watch, Ben and I have found that there's a national website, but it's not really updated and like taken care of very well. And I don't know, it's just been a little weird. So we use the name Neighborhood Watch because that's kind of a general term almost in a sense, but we're not like on the books yet. But if that's all this information and people that are on Neighborhood Watch nationally, it's all outdated like from years ago. So I don't know what's going on with that, but
Well, I think you're going about it the right way. I mean, I was talking to Justin yesterday. And it's about bringing that neighborhood together.
right, people get to
So-
know each other.
Yeah, I'm watching out for my neighbor across the street. I know the neighbor next door is out of town, and this neighbor is gonna be out of town the following week. And so it's kind of that same mentality where you're collaborating. And we did the one over in, over by Sweet Lake, 1700 South. The little cafe over there. And it sounds silly, but it worked. The neighbors planned a half an hour when they would go out and walk the
That's
dog.
cool.
So it's kind of like activating the street and just making it more neighborhood.
Just like the parks, you know, we do the parks, if we have events, and you know, people there a lot, then it deters, you know, the kind of activity behavior that we've seen there, you know.
So I would walk my dog this half hour, but walk hers the next half hour, but you just kind of shift it around.
Yeah.
The neighborhood, the community.
We had our
And
first
then
neighborhood watch
taking
meeting.
notes
Oh,
and
sorry.
Making sure that you communicate strange back to your.
Oh, we definitely do. Yes, we do. Oh, so we had a meeting. We just had a meeting like how many weeks ago, Ben? Like 2?
Yeah, we're planning to
Do it every-
second Thursday.
Every second Thursday of the month, we're gonna have it regularly so people can show up and
Okay.
be consistent.
If you let me know, I'll come
Cool.
try to.
Thank you.
So I'm just gonna say, I think that one of the issues with that block of 33 south is because
Yeah, there's a lot of garbage around there that Ben might think it's a
it just.
disaster.
It's like,
Yeah.
there's just kind of going in that across the street. I live on.
We do have garbage pickup going there once a week from Advantage Services, twice a week from our RIT. Downtown Ambassadors. So 4 times a week.
And us, Ben and I doing it too. So it's a lot of people picking up garbage and a lot of people throwing garbage on the ground.
Also, they just don't have, their dumpsters overfilled by all. So just-
The other day it was a mess, it was a disaster. Oh, such a mess. And the alleyways are behind the buildings are a real big issue that needs to be addressed as far as the stairwells and all that, and needles and garbage, you know, all sorts of stuff, so. But we're reporting and documenting that and then trying to keep cleaning ourselves. But yeah, the buildings get really messy. Those 4 buildings on the west-hand side of the road. I mean, I came over and visited Ben the other day and it was just like garbage everywhere. It looked like the bomb had gone off, you know.
Yeah, I know the longer weekends are worse, because I drive by there after 3-day or 4-day weekend.
Awful.
From
Yeah,
7-Eleven,
holidays,
from 7-Eleven all the way down.
Yeah, I had a question. So regarding like, 'cause, not everything's reported across the release, especially like the Windows broken or something like that. And like, for example, the attorney's office that does the work for the public defender's building, the window is smashed right now. They just plugged it back up. But they'll report to the police and just pay for it on our insurance. And the city might not know, smashed, or the burger place, Burger Crown Burger was smashed and stuff like there. The new apartments, the gigantic swollen ones with all the like these, and their windows smashed. Topsecret.com on the first south had their windows smashed over the summer. I've lived there for 1 year. We've had our windows smashed twice.
When I'm
I
going around,
mean,
I'll let
three,
people
if
know
you
about
include
this.
the fact that the rock went through two windows like on the other side. So should we report that into the city app, even if the attorneys, or like, for example, they might have reported it as well?
It's better to have a duplicate than nothing at all, I would say, because they can figure out the duplicates.
Because that is, because also I feel like, statistically, right, I mean, we see something in our neighborhood, but again, for like our building, right, you look at the insurance policy. Okay, so it's $600 here, the deductible's $1,500, so.
Yeah, Brandy's right. Every department has its own data metrics on how they keep track. Like my team has separate teams and Tim's team and compliance, et cetera. So yeah, get it to the right team.
Okay. Because even like, and then like the cupcake place that's next to Gourmandise, they had their window smashed. But they have a double window, and their one's broken, and so I went in there and I said, excuse me, I saw your window smashed. Is that a reason for breaking our window smashed? And he said, no, that's just been like that. So, I just, when you think about these accumulations, and then everyone's insurance policy, I know that down.
Or 7-Eleven had a broken, someone kicked in the whole door, like the whole glass.
Yeah.
So it's getting
Right,
expensive.
and all of the investment realty properties all have smashed windows. They just boarded it up now. They have signs and they're like, due to smashed windows and stuff, please don't hang out on our property, which seems kind of counterintuitive because some smashed.
Yeah.
So, and I just think that, that's a combination of like disinvestment, right? I mean, windows that business smashed many times before your insurance won't cover it, or you just start taking profit or $1,500.
So the city does cover it if they submit like a claim or no?
You don't have.
Oh, there's no program. Okay, so there's no recourse for them. They just have to pay for it themselves every time this happens.
Yeah, we have a facade grant administered by Housing Stability for businesses primarily on the west side, but we've explored creating a program for sports smash windows. It's in the concept stage.
So it's not gonna go very fast likely, or?
It could be, I mean, it could be one of those initiatives that the city council.
Can I light a fire under anyone, or can the business owners or the neighbors, I mean, who could get it?
Maybe so it's a budgetary need, I can speak on this, because I've been a part of the facade grant in years past, in 2020 and 2024 was funded, was not funded, again.
The facade grant was the window program was actually, so it has to be matched. If we had a donation of $50,000, it's more a personnel cost. So having an additional person to the employees to administer some efforts like this, it takes some work. Takes time.
Let's have, welcome, Eva. Good to see you.
Thank you so much.
Your timing is perfect, because we'd love to hear what you have for us, any updates.
I'm excited, well, yeah, for those of you, I am able to this job is, so I'm the newly elected council member. Today's day one on the job, so I'm super excited to be here. This is a big responsibility for me. I'm grateful to have worked with you in the past, and some of you that are in this room I got to meet on. First and foremost, I really am here to listen and to appreciate the experiences that this neighborhood has gone through. I've seen it transform over the years, but in particular, working with Beyond, we've seen one big potential river rock. And I think that's a great example as to what happens when we intentionally identify not just crime, but amenities that are needed to help those individuals. Over 250 units there, state and their families, their children. I think that's a greater result to this community and the value that you all bring. So please continue to participate with me. I think this is really important thing. Because I'm new, I was just handed this deck. I believe I want to hand this out. Is that what we're doing? Excellent.
So that's just.
I do want to hand this out. There's no recent updates on any that I've seen right now proposals. So I am meeting with my team, so I apologize as far as any development that's coming into the district. And if you want to pass these around, this is an update. So this is something that we'll provide at our monthly meetings to make sure that everyone understands what's coming into your neighborhood. It matters to me that the development that we see is actually reflecting not just the history and architecture, but the need of the community. So making sure that we're pulling the levers and powers and exercising everything we can do as a city council. I don't have business cards yet. Everything's so new. I don't, I just got my work phone number, but I do want to give that to you all. One of the things that I pride myself on, one of the things is accessibility and responsiveness. And I think it's really important to have as I seek to be accountable to others. So if you pull out your number, apologize. Once I have business cards, I'd be happy to hand them out. But I put this, or yeah, do you want putting on the board? It's 801-946-7902. And I'd love if you reach out to me. In particular, I hope that I know this is a goal setting and open discussion day, which is exciting. Walks these neighborhoods. So I'd love, if you're going to see me for coffee, I'd love for the opportunity to meet you all. And it's a really great idea for this community.
It sounds like it would, there might be a really good opportunity to do a meeting walk on 300 East.
Yeah.
That would be
really.
Yeah, that's a question about, is there any way to force construction companies to provide pedestrian access on the street?
Like, oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's walking.
Pretty frustrating walking around the neighborhood, having to cross, but people just along this south here, a lot of people are have a little more trouble having cross multiple times. Take over parts of the street or the sidewalk.
Yeah, and I think that's a great question. I know that's a permitting issue, because we're obviously granting them access. So I think to look into that, but I'm happy to see, I know in other communities, not every construction company or subcontractor is following the permit. So when you see something, for example, accessibility issue, really report it in. So once again, if you go to the SLC mobile app, it'll funnel us ways so we can actually go in Central Night. There was an alley that's being blocked on Washington Street, which is the only way those neighbors can get out. And the company really just blocked the funds over there. So that's not supposed to happen. So please report it in.
Is it correct to report that to the SLC mobile app?
Specifically like.
No,
There's
so many
Yep, yeah. They have all kinds of amenity services issues. We want you to use it.
Yeah, I launched into a conversation with Lori Goff, who was in and yesterday about that issue. The administration is working on it. So we want to send him an email that we're interested. It's orion.goff. And we tell you where that is in the council, and we'd like to know when administration is going to bring it forward.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, I've reported things on the app, but I don't know if it's maybe we just granted them access to walking the sidewalk. Other cities, of course, construction companies provide some
But
access.
I had a very bad experience last summer, and it's been on my list.
Yeah.
I told Florian that it was going to be one of my campaigns for 2024, and he said, we're working on it in response. So let him know that, what's this email? Oh, it's orion.goff@slcgov.com, and community neighborhood, and he's like one of the deputies, he could just something correct before he moved over.
Yeah. I live like 2 blocks from the library, and I had to cross the street twice. Just to get here.
I just walk in the street.
Yeah, and that's like, and then it's,
Where's your big safety vest?
there's tons of deaths in the last few years. There's a pedestrian and cyclists, that's.
Look at downtown.
Yeah.
A couple days ago, I'm like, Salt Lake City's mascot should be sidewalk closed.
Oh my gosh.
Well, I mean, if the sidewalk closed sign is up, does that mean that the city has put that sign up, or is it just various construction firms who may or may not be actually legally closing the sidewalk, putting that sidewalk sign up?
On the second south?
Anywhere, in general.
Where's the sidewalk?
Yeah, there is a permitting process. They have to do, who's ever doing the contract, the construction, has to have a permit. It goes on.
And is there
It's going on citywide because we passed the general obligation bond in 2018. It was 87 million for funding our future for roads, sidewalks, and current. But by that agreement, which you, the voters, voted for, it has to be completed by 2025. So that's why you see so much construction going on here, there, next door.
don't get me wrong, I'm totally supportive of the construction, both the private developers, most of the time, and also of the streets improvements, especially if you're putting stuff on road diets. But at the same time, like, do we have any policies that require developers who are closing the sidewalk to implement alternatives to have, right? Because like ultimately it's an issue of priorities. What we're saying when we're not requiring developers to ingress from the streets, or even forbidding developers from building like pedestrian walkway into the street, we're saying that cars are more important than pedestrians. Pedestrians can just cross all the way over, but cars, we can't take a lane. So really, I think my question is, do we have policies that say if a developer is building and walking off the sidewalk, then they need to put a safe pedestrian crossway into one of the lanes of the streets?
We do, and there's criteria for it. I'm not sure what all the specific details are. It's just like, look at it, thinking of, somebody contacted me a couple weeks ago about the construction on 4th East, the big building over there. They were doing pouring cement at 5 o'clock in the morning. Why were they doing it at 5 o'clock in the morning? By permit, they were permitted from Suffolk County, they do noise ordinance enforcement, that they were permitted to do that. For some reason, they had scheduling problems that they had to do it at that time. In that criteria, getting down, drilling down details, contractors supposed to take out flyers and canvas the entire neighborhood in that whole 4-block area.
But they can only do it so many times a month, but they are permitted to start very early. And it is because sometimes with big concrete pours, it takes a long time for it to set and you need to start early, but they can only do it a few times a month.
Correct.
I want to say that specific for the big issue for me is hospital my apartment and being close to the south. And so I have to either walk in the street to get to the bus stop or go to the one and the one in 300 East, they not stop because they can't tell if someone's walking out at a 7-Eleven, they can't tell if they're in the house or waiting for the bus. So I have to stand in the street and wait at the bus drive. So I have to cross all the way over the street, go walk down a block, come all the way back to the street or the sidewalk closed. And there's 2 lanes on the side. That's
Like I said, it's just what our priorities are. Like I'm in favor of construction.
So that's a
Need to
perfect,
prioritize people too.
that's a perfect example. you report that either to solid or to the mayor's office, then we execute those. Well, they may have the permit allows the receipt, but we have contractors who are in violation of permits and we have ways to enforce them.
In terms of the bus operators not stopping, and in terms of in terms of that particular stop closure, because I also use that stop when I get home, I would recommend calling UTA.
Sorry.
So this is on the Transit Act? You should call me. Calling is the most guaranteed approach that gets through into the back end system.
Reiterate, Brianna, but SLC Mobile, not reporting, report all crimes to PD. One, because we are city public service officials, we have no like authority over crime, and SLC Mobile is only have. So there's emergency, call 911. They will get the appropriate resources. Please don't like if you want to give like us some data, like say hey, there was a person that I thought was having a mental experience. I called 911. Close was sufficient. That's awesome. But it like breaks my heart when I read a submission like that that's sent in Friday at like 9 p.m. at night. Here I am, 7 a.m. in the morning on Monday. I'm like, oh crap. Man, it should always refer to the police, but it's for non-criminal, it's not a crime to be homeless, right? It's a crime to tag on graffiti. If you see someone doing that, call 911. But if you see a tag, then go and report on the graffiti and say, hey, this is public facing, please clean this up, this and that. It's not a crime to abandon the shopping cart, so it's for non-criminal things. Okay.
Oh, I have a question, Tim. I noticed around construction sites, there's an influx, like a lot more garbage, like and it's not just flowing in and staying there. I think the construction workers are just throwing their shit down and not throwing it away, because I see that at every construction site, like water bottles, some of the consistent same things. How can we enforce or,
You can report those as well.
Okay.
Those reports go to building services. Used to be, I'm looking at it. But there is a neighborhood. It's like telling on your neighbor. We have an agreement with the contractors that are on the project.
So they'll tell their employees to like get in shape and not litter and stuff, because I see it
So
everywhere.
They get told to pick it up.
Okay.
Let's clean up your mess and have the neighbors be your babysitters.
Can they be fined or held accountable if they don't continue and start to do that once they're
Yeah,
told?
they can.
Okay. All right. It's just annoying. I see it everywhere, every construction site.
Eva, did you have any more updates, or were there any other questions for the city council?
No, I think honestly, I'd love for you all to reach out, join me, do a tour. I mean, there's so much information out there. One of the things that I hope to empower you with, if not this year, at least at the end of my tenure at 4 years, is that there's so much process involved in learning when to come in, whether it's public comment or how to report on the case. There's a lot of ways where individually we can uplift our community, part of it. So it's not just one elected official working to create policy, it's also the daily actions that we take. It actually does change the landscape of the neighborhood. I've seen it happen, and it's important to keep up that energy.
Cindy's great at it. She goes in all the time. She's professional.
For, building up our landscape, and not just environmentally, but taking responsibility and stewardship over our parks again. Doing a lot of great work on open parks, making sure that we push on that front. But like I said, I'm leaning on the community council to make sure that your voice is uplifted when I'm in council meetings. So I'll take my first vote on January 9th, still that transitionary period. Please reach out. I really mean that. Like, I want to take you to City Hall with me. I want to take you to the top of the clock tower and back down. I think we'll have a new appreciation for our city. But There's obviously lots of construction happening, so making sure that we understand what zoning changes are coming for you, really crucial to me, as well as identifying the homeownership opportunities. I can't tell you how many developers have reached out to an insane amount, wanting to build more market rate apartments. And this is a conversation that I've had with each colleague of mine to say, we cannot turn our back on individuals that need homeownership opportunity or deeply affordable space, but true livable spaces in America. We can't just build mindlessly.
I'll bring that up when we talk about goals. That's what.
Yeah, and that's what we spoke about really. It's, you know, that's what it's gonna take to build our neighborhood.
Well, let's keep the conversation going and have Troy, our transportation committee lead, talk about some updates in transportation.
Yeah, so the CIP project we applied for 600 south, so that would be trying to move it, maybe reduce the lane or so, and the city part of 600 south. That's still in process. So this is like the city transportation is working. Pretty much to make like a design like cost estimate, and then it goes through this whole process where it goes to the board, then it goes to the mayor, and it goes to the council. So that's still in process. And then livable streets will be next Thursday at 6 o'clock in this room. So they should be giving us like preliminary designs, and then we just all have feedback. Pretty much to make sure that like we're getting what we're asking for. That is open to anyone.
Yeah, it's at 6 o'clock.
Yep,
6 o'clock this room next Thursday. Awesome.
Thanks.
I know we talked already a little bit about crime and safety, but Brandy and Ben, do you guys want to give us an update on 300 East or your first neighborhood watch meeting and how that went?
Sure. I'll talk a little bit. You can talk a little. Yeah, the meeting went well. More people showed up than I anticipated, so that was exciting. That was great. And most of them were from your building, right? Were they?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that went well. We're going to do it every second Thursday of the month. And Ben and I, he lives down there. You know, I walk down there and I pick up garbage with him. There's a lot of garbage down there. So anytime, if you're in that area, bring a bag with you, or you know, make a point of walking around and pick some up. It's usually in front of those buildings over there, and there's always garbage. So I think if enough people, you know, do that, it'll help. You know, Ben and I are just two people. He picked up the other day, and within minutes there was garbage all over the place. So it needs constant work, and we've just been walking the streets and stuff and giving out information. He works a lot with the tech side of things. You know, he can tell you about that with cameras and security stuff. And we're trying to collaborate with people, like different buildings and like residents and property managers, to ask if they have cameras and if we can share information easily without going through all sorts of legal processes, to make things easier as far as when people are, you know, violated with, you know, being robbed or, you know, stolen from or whatnot. So we just want it to be an open communication thing, so things are easier, that we can pass that information on to the police easy, you know, because it might help them so they don't have to like go through their whole process. But if you want to talk about any of the stuff you see.
I want to invite everybody to every second Thursday. We're currently meeting at the Friendship Sign Company, which is around First South in that Studio Road, right next to that Super Top Secret. So we're meeting there for now until that space becomes too small for too many people coming.
So it's next Thursday then?
Yeah, second Thursday.
At 7 p.m., right?
Yeah, and really our first one was just to kind of gauge the temperature of the community and kind of, so this next one, we really want to set some goals for what it is we plan on doing. Like Brandy was saying, a lot of it is kind of trying to understand exactly what neighborhood watch means, because that has been kind of undefined in the last few years, like the whole program of neighborhood watch is kind of falling apart. So I guess we've got a real opportunity to kind of redefine that, or to come up with a new term for what it is. So come with your goals for what you have to see for the community.
Yeah,
we can work together.
It could be on any level. You could do very little, and you know, if everyone does a tiny bit of something, it all adds up, you know, so it's really important.
So we'll have the livable streets at 6 and then.
It's at 6
It's
as well.
at 6,
So
okay, well, you know.
guess we have a complicated.
It's okay,
You've
it's
got to
okay,
make
let's, yeah.
your grades are good.
Awesome. planning and development, I will say, for the Ivory Innovation Park, I guess is what they're calling it. I think their open comment or public comment period closed December 6th. They have reached out to the RDA for additional funding to sell 16 of the 36 townhomes. We'd like to see them sell all of the townhomes, so we'll see where that goes. And then we don't have any events planned, but we did submit an application for an East grant for our pizza in the park event, which will happen in September. So fingers crossed that we'll get that many. And then with that, we can talk about goal setting for 2024. I will say that for the council, I think, at least for me, and I think Brandy and Austin and maybe Lila would agree that we would really love to see more for sale housing in Central City, because we're just getting inundated with apartments. And it would be nice to get some homeowners in the neighborhood. So that crime and safety, cleaning up 300 East, we have a lot of concerned neighbors here tonight that would like to see that get better.
Yeah. Well, Ben and I would like to meet with you guys in Austin with the people of the club or that area too, like have a little mini meeting, so, or you can come to the neighborhood watch. Not yet, we haven't. I just met him in person for the first time today. I've talked via email, and then there's who's Scott, is he the property? HOA president. I haven't met him yet, so I met the guy watering the lawn one day. What was his name? Sean, yeah. So I'm slowly meeting everyone.
Can I ask a quick question on that end? Because it's part of the goals, but just about from the government standpoint, because I know that there's the tenant program, right? A good tenant program. Because I only lived in the property for just under a year now, but like Magnolia seems to be, and that's another property that has like almost sort of pipeline. I would just say briefly, concerning because you know what that is. They, you know, I mean, I've never done the HOA, but they seem to be more responsive and less issues compared to the investment realty advisors, three buildings that are on the other side. So when it comes to things that could be implemented security wise, like the gate closing to where all the back end of that building is, having where they have security cameras, they have a more sophisticated locking system on their doors and things like that. Is there any way with city working with that particular?
There right now, the platinum, I don't want the platinum tickets to sell out. I don't want.
Oh, okay. Everyone make sure you're muted until you talk. Sorry, someone was unmuted by default there.
Yeah, but you know, because I mean, I think about some of those easier solutions when it comes to those particular three properties, which have a lot of units. Because like I said, I noticed on the other side, like they're right out of the Rigby building. They have a gate that automatically shuts when someone makes parking. Those three buildings don't have any of that security built into their system.
I know there's something going on with that now.
So you know, that was a sort of a question, but I was thinking about the ways that
I do worry about that sort of thing in terms of creating like a bunker vibe to our city, our community, right? Like the best way to address crime, the best way to address many of the social issues we're facing are through building stronger communities, building social trust, and then everybody is locked down and fenced in and closed off and cameras are everywhere. That's no way to build a society. That's a way to sort of create this pervasive sense of social distrust and disunity. So I would worry about the city intervening and advocating for like these bunker-like interventions.
Right now, though, when I pull into my driveway, though, I mean, I see people shooting at parallel.
Yeah, I think security cameras
So,
are
you know what I
important.
mean, like, so the discords are already there for me, right? You're already seeing the breakdown of society. You're outside the door, walking outside, having like like on my block, it's 6 broken windows. So for me, like the disc like that's already like broken. And so what I'm saying is not about boxing it in, because we have plenty of areas around there where people can walk to, things like that. But creating the safety where you get tenants in those buildings who feel safe now. Because if you you look at the reviews right now, 1.2. I love the building, it's a beautiful design, but I keep getting beat up and things like that. So they have no security in the building at all. This is based on Google reviews.
I know there are some buildings in particular down there that spoke with Detective Stewart recently that are working on security things. So each building is kind of their own. I mean, there's different property management groups, and then there's the UNHP. I forgot the whole, lettering, but so these are things we're gonna ask questions to when we talk to each building, and develop that relationship and see, like, do you have a plan for making things better or safer for your residents if that's an issue, or is it not something that you have to deal with, or?
I think those 3 buildings are all managed by the same company. So that's
Yeah,
why
I do-
I
I do wonder if there's maybe a question to be asked, and I know there's state regulatory issues, but I would love to see a safe injection site.
Yeah, Street Magnolia.
Okay, because like I can't imagine anybody wants to be shooting up heroin at a random back alleyway, right? If there's a safer place.
We don't
to
have
do
the
it.
big exchange needle. But yeah, I agree.
Right, so that's an needle exchange, not an actual like modern safe
Right.
injection site. Where
Do they even do those here in Salt Lake, or do they have any?
New York State.
we don't have any. I think
Really?
there might be state regulatory issues, but again, these are things we can advocate.
How do you
to the
get them
state
started, like, health department, or?
It depends. I haven't looked much at like the particular precedents, but I do know that while they do, there can be fear of sort of inducing crime around them, ultimately what they do is they allow people, our neighbors who are struggling with addiction, who do have an addiction disorder, they give opportunities to do so in a safer environment, to know that you won't overdose. And because, as those billboards, as our Utah naloxone billboards say, nobody can get better if they're dead. And like, yeah, I have walked into these are the apartments on Third. Yeah. I've walked through a couple of those apartments looking for something that was lost, and I've seen people, use it, and it's not comfortable to watch, but it's also, I have a lot of empathy for people with drug addiction disorders, and I think that it's important that, and I mean, this is my fear also about neighborhood watch. If it's about neighbors taking care of each other and watching out for each other, that's wonderful. If it's about sort of creating an us and a them, these kind of people aren't safe. These kind of people aren't
Everyone,
safe.
we want everyone to be involved in, like, a part of the whole puzzle of making things better and helping people who need help, but we don't want to enable either. We don't want to be on one extreme or the other, like, go away, we don't want to deal with you, we want to help people have happier lives in many different ways, but we don't want to enable any sort of behavior as far as the crime that comes with a lot of addiction and the thefts and assaults and a lot of the stuff that, we don't want to go that way either. But we want to support people who need help.
The thriving in place study indicated both Ballpark and Central City are now 84% renters. As someone who's been engaged in my community for 50 years, I will tell you that I don't consider that that's workable, because those are short-term renters. If they were long-term renters like we used to see in East downtown and in the Bryant neighborhood, people who planted in the same apartment for decades, then it wouldn't matter that they were renters and not homeowners. But what we have now are very short-term occupancy, where people sign a one-year lease and may or may not complete that one-year lease, and then they move somewhere else. And that simply, in my opinion, doesn't work, because you're dealing with longer-term transients, people who are not planning to stay, and therefore engaging with the community.
I'm curious if you have, what evidence you see for that other than anecdote. Not that the anecdote is false, but for example,
Huge data coming out of Ballpark that very high percentage, I can't tell you the percentage, but very high percentage of people have been there less than a year. So that to me is not that it's not a renter homeowner thing, it's who's here to stay and who's just here temporarily, sort of like an
not vested in the.
short-term rental. So particularly down around Liberty Park, our neighborhood is being very damaged by illegal short-term rentals. And I saw that when I did flyering of over 400 residences in 2021, where I kept going up to these porches and going, this is a short-term rental.
Interesting.
So
So like Airbnb level short term.
yes,
It's not like.
Airbnb,
You can record those on.
yeah, and as much as I'd like to say something will happen, I've watched the enforcement cases go through the process, and they just hire an attorney. Until the state agrees with us that we are losing thousands of housing units that would be family friendly, this is going to be very difficult to enforce. So anyway, the point I want to make is it's not renters versus homeowners. It's that we have this problem with short-term occupancy in this part of the city, and people don't intend to stay. And on the flip side of that, you also have greatly increased rental costs. So I describe the situation for tenants as being like a cat on a hot tin roof. They rent a place and then the rent goes up. And my most recent tenant said that he would give 30 days notice to rent my old apartment. And I said, fine. And he came back and he said, when I signed the new lease, they had changed it to from 30 days to 60 days notification. And they didn't tell me. So he just signed a new lease, the same one that he had signed a year earlier. And it wasn't. So there we were. He was planning to move December 1st. And he was going to have to pay for December, whether he lived there or not. And if he moved early, get this, the property manager, if he moved early, he was going to lose his security cost on top of having to pay for space. So that is something that I think we could address through the good landlord program, which regulates all of these property management companies. No property manager should be changing and substituting a lease without highlighting or getting an initial from a tenant if there's a change in the previous lease. And really, our good landlord program is such a mess that we could do a lot in terms of improving the management of buildings through the good landlord program.
I mean, part of the problem is that there are strict limitations set by the state.
If I could just add my 2 cents, like we talking about having gated areas off and separating the community.
Yeah.
Like those 4 units that are there on 300.
Yeah.
The property manager, one person who manages all 4 buildings, is in a gated and confined area that is separated from the rest of the community that she manages.
We're gonna have to scale the fence to get through.
It's really impossible to communicate with her. It's only by email. There's no phone calls, and the gates are almost never open. She's virtually unavailable, and in her defense, she's the only person that is dealing with a mountain of a mess. So like I hear that she's got all the best intentions, but she's just not given the resources whatsoever. So again, a good landlord,
We want to try to meet with her if we can get to her.
Penalize the one person who's doing all the hard work. It really should be coming back to property owners like the investment group to really be held accountable for destroying our neighborhood.
I am hearing, thank you, sorry. I'm hearing like 2 separate issues with sort of short-term, like short term and middle short-term rentals. Is there a distinction? Because like the Airbnb short-term and then the people, I guess what you're saying is like the 501s where folks are like young professionals who move in for a year and then.
Yeah, so there's a minimum 30-day occupancy unless you're in one of the zones that allows hotels and overnight occupancy. Now, the whole 400 South corridor is zoned so that it's legal. And you'll find entire floors of buildings on 400 South that are short-term rentals being used as hotels. But to have these sweet little houses in Central City used as a short-term rental, and they're in, you know, SR 1A or SR 3, or, you know, those are illegal uses.
Yeah.
And there's a minimum 30-day occupancy. And, so, they're violations of that order. The other thing is that people just aren't staying in the same place for a variety of reasons, including the fact that, their rents keep going up. And so they move, which is, I mean, that's the story I get all the time, is my rent went up, I gotta find something else. I can't afford this. So, there's the short-term rentals, there's the barely meeting the term of the lease rentals. So not a long-term commitment to the neighborhood. And then the other thing that I threw in there was so as I refer to it, the so-called good landlord approach, which was always based years ago when Garrett was their city council person. It's based on data from Ireland. Ireland is a completely different market. Completely different market. So it was based on data that should not have been applied to Salt Lake City, and there are abundant opportunities to make it better in terms of how it's going to be treated.
Is there that brings up a good point, and I have this thought as well. Is there an interest? I know since we do have such a huge amount of renters in our neighborhood, is there an interest in having a topic at an upcoming meeting about renter resources? Having like a renter resource forum, something like that? I don't know how.
Yeah.
We'll feel about
That'd
that.
be a good idea.
Say no, it's okay. I'm just throwing it out there.
The city goes to a renter resource fair, just to.
Okay.
And that could be interesting.
You know, renters need to feel a sense of empowerment, because I know most, in particular in our area, would never make any kind of a complaint whatsoever because they would be afraid of retaliation.
Yeah, a lot of
in their
people.
housing.
Especially the low-income buildings, I think they're afraid of, you know, that they don't speak up, and they don't necessarily want all that going on around us, you know?
We've had buildings that go like weeks without hot water, weeks without electricity.
Yeah.
And they just won't even complain.
And, you know, all these landlords that live off, like you said, live off site in some other state, they're not seeing like these things deteriorate, and, you know, be dilapidated. And then Diane's overwhelmed probably with 4 buildings. I mean, someone needs to help her. I mean, that place, when we go around there, it's more than garbage. I think it needs to be power washed all around the buildings. It's disgusting.
How many times we've had like buildings vacant because of mold problems that would be avoidable if they would not have the plumbing problems that would continue.
Someone started a fire outside a building the other day, like one of your buildings. We didn't see it active, but
Got a fire on camera. I had something.
I mean, they're right by the buildings, you know?
This might be better but I think I was mentioning this earlier, but a lot of the reasons I feel like the neighborhood still always like empty buildings and like empty lots. And I don't know if that's something that we
How can we get landlords?
how do we keep making people to buy this land to build actually?
Yeah. Like time limits on how long buildings are empty.
Like, personally, walking past like just apartment buildings, like kind of desperate. Like there has to be something. It can't just be like a
All the businesses that are supposed to be at the bottom.
Seeing fence around property, compensate. That's not.
Yeah, that's not. It's within city property.
So our code in many of our downtown and mixed-use districts does require those first floor activations.
Why are they all empty?
The whole building is empty.
Yeah, all the buildings I see.
Well,
like
well,
this.
yeah, no, they're sort of the 2 different issues. There are these abandoned lots and these abandoned buildings that are just completely dead and empty. And then there's these podium buildings, the 5/1s, that are by code supposed to have a ground floor activation. And of course, the developers are often trying to get out of that obligation, or to, you know, oh, well, our exercise room is a ground floor activation. And certainly, I think tightening up that code so that we're really pressing. The hard thing for me is like, we've seen over the past couple of months with all of these new residents, these apartments coming online, what it has done is it's weakened the position of landlords in the city, which in my mind is an unambiguously good thing. And so like the more housing we build, the weaker we make landlords. And the more we as renters, I as a renter, feel like I'm able to ask for concessions, ask for price drops. And like this is very much, Councilmember Lucas Chavez, you mentioned really believing in social housing and AMI housing and for sale housing. And I absolutely agree. But also I think there's like this sense of like we need an all of the above approach because we've had this housing shortage, we're facing a housing shortage right now, we're sort of in this blip where we're on the bubble where we're doing okay-ish in Salt Lake proper, but it's not gonna last for long, so we need just more housing so we aren't facing what we faced last year where there just wasn't enough and it gave landlords so much power to do whatever they want.
Well, I can appreciate that. I think the market trend, exactly what you're saying, was a great article in Building Topic that explained. So again, I think it's difficult in this state. It is so difficult to get renters the proper tools that they need. Along the trail, I want to mention there is this growing number of renters in our city. The whole city is actually a renter city now. And so it's making sure that we give them the proper funnel and pipeline. These are individuals that do want to stay in our city. So we don't see those opportunities expanding. But we also, one of the best levers to do is to provide them administrative tools to handle evictions, to have a little code. I have a friend that lives in Mona, here on 5th East, near 200 South. They were locked out. They went to the hot tub at 8 p.m. The hot tub was stay open. None of the doors open, so they stayed out and had to call firefighters. Fire came, drove to open Mona, right? And got them, this individual was outside in a swimsuit for hours. So we're behind on inspections. I mean, there's so much that goes into this, but something I wanted to touch on, you mentioned talking about vacant buildings and also vacant lots and spaces. Again, there's a lot of landlords that are land banking with the intention of the city eventually upselling. That's what they're doing. And this is they're looking at us to create incentives to make it the best deal on profitability for us. This is something that I'm not quite sure what the solution is yet for this code. But again, looking at our budgetary needs, and I think making sure that it's a win for the group, right? Not just giving these exceptions or giving this investment willingly, but actually making sure that it's appeasing to the growth that we're seeing. Central City is growing. It's growing in a way that's not affirming that neighborhood or that identity or the permanency of that resident.
I mean, I know that for me, I am trying to set boundaries in Salt Lake. I am a high density girl through and through. And it is really difficult to see, like we have a couple of high-rise condos that were constructed in the 40s through 70s, and there's nothing else. And I know that there are like complexities with the building code and with sort of liability. The developers are scared to construct high-rise condos because there's like long term liability that you don't face when you're dealing. And I do wonder if there are ways that the city can, this is my core goal, ways for the cities to push developers who own lots in these high to moderate rise areas to really build family-oriented high density development. Because I love high density development and I think we need more of it, and like Central City, instead of having these like this low rise mix of commercial and sort of low density semi-missing middle housing north and Fort South, if instead we could really start seeing like big buildings that you can sit in and raise a family, New York style. That's what I'm looking for.
Any other goals or topics that you'd like to? No, don't apologize. That's what this is for.
But one thing that I have noticed recently is kind of the lack of accessibility in the construction zone and like temporary bus stops. especially because they're often on grass. And I've noticed especially construction zones are like, they'll just stay sidewalk closed and they feel like go around. And if you're in a wheelchair or otherwise, like people don't think that it is just are always cut out. And sometimes they don't want to move the walk. So more, I think the city goes with like possibilities firstly, but just like a focus on.
That was like our goal. The thing is sidewalk.
Also, in other cities, they will actually put down asphalt at the curb, temporary barricade in the sidewalk and a bike lane for the bike. It should be the same as it was, the same quality as it existed. That should be bumped out, yeah. So they should provide an alternative that's exactly the same quality. And there's a good example on South Temple. I think between 4th and 30s, there's like this, like, actually pretty nice, like, there's like some kind of construction going on, and there's the sidewalk, and then they built this like kind of sheltered walkway that's very well lit, and it has ramps. And then on 4th East and like 220 South, there's literally no sign. The whole sidewalk is blocked. There's no alternative. Like, they're definitely in violation. Like I said, we'll report them after this. That's a lie. There's not even a sign for it. The sign like turned backwards, and I think they made a gravel walkway. They can't tell us. And then after that, there's the other one that is.
And then there's the new Salt Lake City School building.
Yeah, so it's back to back sidewalk closures that are just like not acceptable.
I suspect there will be an increase in reporting of the app.
So we talked about housing a lot.
Yeah, that seems to be an overarching.
But we haven't talked about asphalt, heat islands, which we have in abundance, air quality, water conservation.
Environmental.
Yeah, so we don't have anything up there that really speaks to the non-housing. What we talked about has to do with sustainability very much. I don't think if you have a bunch of shorter term occupants, you can hold a neighborhood together for an extended period of time. So that deals with sustainability. But we gotta have air, water. We got a lot of problems with noise pollution. And the heat island and
how would you summarize that into? I mean, that's a lot.
What's a heat island? Sorry, I don't know.
This is when asphalt.
the heat island is a big problem for us because we
Like
don't have
asphalt
a lot of park
reflects
space
heat.
other than
So
the park. We have
often
very
in
small parks.
cities, you see
And we have huge wide spans of asphalt and we have stupid.
5 to
parking
10
lots.
degree temperature increase compared to
Service
the
parking
surrounding
lots.
environment.
And
because
it's
the
so
asphalt just
hard
reflects
to
the
get rid
heat
of,
that
you know,
bounces
the
back and
Sonic
forth
Temple
from the atmosphere.
redeveloped part of theirs today.
They're
Get
water
rid of the big one
temperatures.
in front of the big lots.
Not what happens with.
But the heat island is, I think, a real concern for Central City specifically.
Golf course.
And I just did, in the email about tonight's meeting, there was a link about the second east green loop thing. So that seemed, it's a little unclear, because I don't think like architect, but like a city planner, but it seemed, did you guys all see that?
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Ava might be able to speak.
Well, I was gonna speak on behalf of, I think some of these issues cross intersect with SLCN and the other community councils. I would challenge this community, it's just a suggestion. Downtown community council recognizes that 30% of District 4 is asphalt covered surface parking lots. We have actually lost the affordable housing in hope of creation of housing. Ended up. So this is actually something that is really important. It aggravates me that we are actually hurting our residents. It is getting on average every year we're seeing about 5% of the any neighborhood in your houses around. So we want to make sure that we
How would we like, in terms of thinking of a measurable goal, like how would you summarize that into a goal?
I would agree with that, it's advocacy around that, because that project just still needs to be sold to the community, explained, and things like that. You know, people have concerns from parking to deliveries to traffic and things like that too. So you're making sure, you know, like for example, transportation, making sure that stakeholders understand benefits and also address issues that residents might have in their business.
The city could incentivize the redevelopment of certain parking lots. That we had to wait so long for the Masonic Temple parking lot. It went from 70s, 60s to redevelop into housing. And there was no incentive from the city for that to happen. We could also do some education about black roofs.
About what?
Black roofs.
Black roofs, no.
Very dark roofs contribute to the island. And there's absolutely no reason to install them because they barely make it through the warranty period. They don't last as well because they get hot.
I don't know if other property owners are kind of this, but in the houses behind us, the block that I live in, the properties around me were purchased by property management companies for out of state. And they whack to the mature trees that were keeping our block much cooler. They're like, we don't want to deal with that. And they pavement it. My understanding was that the city finds businesses the diameter of the trees that they have, and they penalize them. But that I guess maybe if you're a property management company, you buy this, like buy a house to rent out, then it's fine if you put down really nice mature trees.
They have to be on public property.
That was that the deal? Because it wasn't the purpose, like a friend of mine is the works at the house. When they cut down their mature trees and they rebuild, like trouble, not trouble, they had to pay a fine for the trees. They cut down. Well, maybe not. I think it's like,
Even though it's a tree in front of the house on the park,
yeah,
that's a public tree.
yeah,
So you're responsible for watering it.
right.
If you cut it down, then
I thought top trees are businesses anyway, but yeah, the property management companies out of state don't care. They don't have the liability of a big tree. That's another problem. Penalize people, companies that own properties, they're out of state, because they're like, what do we care?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this, the interesting, like, the term phrase there, even public tree versus private tree.
Yeah.
This is our community we're talking about, right? Like, yeah, like every tree plays a role, right? They're not
Every tree
something
is
that
a
should,
public tree.
yeah, every tree should be a public, every tree is public common, right? Like this is our community.
And they tree programs where you can have free trees planted on the park strips, right? But that doesn't. That only, yeah.
I wondered if anyone had anything on the chat.
Oh, yeah, I've been asking, but the audio's been really bad. We're really gonna work on this. We're gonna have to get another audio device for the next video, do something way different, because it's improved over time, but it's really not great. Dennis couldn't really hear. Well, he said he could, and then he couldn't. So we got people still here. Let me check and see. Can you guys hear okay? Are you hearing any of this that we're talking? And no one's chimed in really, so my worry is that you're not hearing anything that anyone's saying in the room.
Only hearing you, Brandy, to be honest.
You what? Sorry?
Only hearing you.
Oh, that's not
The
good.
The rest of the voices are not loud enough.
Okay.
Is this microphone even working here?
Right there?
No, no difference whatsoever.
That explains it.
I think it's popping out is the problem.
Oh, yeah, the blue light. Oh.
Okay, can you hear now? This thing isn't staying in this little bar too good.
My apologies.
Anybody else have any goals or anything that they'd like to see over the next year?
Anything you can do to make it better.
So I don't know if this is an entire thing for the whole thing, but I've been working.
It's my first time.
But every one of the
streetlights is out and broken on my street. Tim was super sweet and came out a couple weeks ago with a bunch of people from the city.
We just did something.
And, we identified even more problems.
Okay.
So my goal is to fix those.
Damn lights.
Yes, because the street lamps were put in with federal money. And Dave Pearson, who is with the city and does street lighting, looked at them and said, I actually have the bulbs that we could replace because they're hard to remove. So sometime in the history of the street, somebody went through and just decided they were so hard to remove, they just cut a hole in the lamps to replace the bulb. But he said in storage, he has all the bulbs, we can replace them. So even though we need to get electricity to them, and Tim has some really good ideas, so my goal is to
I am holding you accountable for that.
street lights on Roberta, a lot of them don't have covers, they're so cute. And we might repaint them anyway, so my.
Awesome, that sounds like a great project to get the neighbors involved,
Thank
so
you.
let us know how we can help.
I want to add 200 south and 20 east to the list.
Okay.
It's like, I'm back in the city.
As a
like,
goal?
Right, there's, it could just be as a street lights thing too.
Oh, yeah.
But there's like half the intersection is completely pitch dark. Can't
Yeah.
see anything.
200 west, 200 south, 400
Yeah,
east.
and I
200
contacted
south,
the
400
city and they're like, there's Rocky Mountain power lines there. I'm like, and then they can't like install them. And I walk down the street, I'm like, there's a street light on top of a power line. What makes this different? And I never got a response the second time. I just reconstructed it, so there should be space to do something, or just stick the street, like the street light right on the crosswalk. That's all I'm asking for. I don't need like lay across the entire thing, just at least put it on the crosswalk on the outside. It's just really bad there.
Second south important.
So we do
Yeah.
have a street lighting master plan.
Yes.
So you can-
So we're-
I was gonna say, I talked to someone who was asked about streetlights, someone on livable streets, and they said that the current best practices say you only need 2 streetlights per intersection, which to me doesn't work with how big our intersections are. And I'm wondering if that's something that could be looked at, by the city and just like think about the size of the intersection. Because in the avenues, that makes sense. In Central City, where our streets are like,
Busy,
we've got
busy.
across, that
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense.
So it sounds like we've got, yes.
One last goal in terms of environmental, reducing the car-centeredness of the design of this community, right? Road diets, just in general, enabling people to live their lives on the streets rather than in their cars.
We need more central city needs improvement.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is housing, crime and safety, environmental, and transportation. So I am going to ask is there any of you that would like to be on, let's say, a housing committee or the transportation? We don't have a housing committee yet, but yes.
Well, actually, I was just gonna add to the list to make it even more complicated. So 2024, right? So we're 10 years out from the Olympics. And so it's a while now, but does it make sense for us to sort of position ourselves to start thinking about, that might be another goal. Just try to align that money that's gonna come in, and since we're so close to some of the action.
Airbnbs will become very popular.
That's right, yeah. So, I mean, just, because again, like I said, it's 10 years out, but this is probably the time to think about, what we can use for, what we really want, since there's gonna be, private money and things like that coming in versus.
Maybe we could set up all those little temporary shelters for all the out-of-towners to come in.
That's right, yeah, Austria and Switzerland and other different countries.
So yeah, no, I'm interested in the transportation side of things.
Awesome.
So, things such as like mixed use development also plays a big part in that, where we want people more on the streets rather than the roads.
Yeah.
It grows almost everything, residential, commercial.
Brandy, can I ask you to write down committees? So we'll have, we'll put you, so Troy, I'm just trying to connect people. Remind me your name again? Michael, you're Troy, you guys connect. Yeah, and Aparna, that's our transportation committee. If anybody else is interested in transportation, please talk to Troy. Anybody interested in housing? You can don't have to volunteer now, but, think about it, because it sounds like it's a very important issue. Cindy is a huge resource. I won't ask you to. But, please think about that, because we need somebody to advocate for housing in Central City, and, you know, I'm willing to do that, and I've been working with Ava on that, so. What about environmental, like, does anybody want to work on the green loop? Surface parking?
And some of these have, the city has, for example, urban forestry has a committee.
Oh, yeah.
They should have an assigned person for this community. Tim, maybe I could rely on your help to get that individual assigned if they haven't been.
That would be
And I would
awesome.
love to see that, because I really think if we're not curating it, it might happen intentionally.
Yep.
We're already seeing that with development, you know, so we wanna make sure that we're activating our voices too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Neighborhood Watch, I'll make a plug for that again. Please contact Brandy or Ben. Our next meeting is next Thursday. It's great to see you there. And if there's something up here that we didn't talk about, please reach out. We're happy to, you know, if you're interested in, historic preservation, we have so much of that in Central City. That's another idea for a committee. Events, you know, we're trying to build our community, and by doing that, having parties and community gatherings, and so we need somebody to lead that as well. Just my email, I'll put that on here as well. Yeah, anything else before we adjourn for the night?
Just really quick, trying to do kind of like a street beautification event. We can pick a spot. It could be maybe the library members take a look, it could be mural crosswalk, something.
I love that.
I think local streets will probably help us with that, so.
I will put you in charge of that. Cool, well, thanks, everybody, it's great to see all of you here, great to see you faces.
I'm not getting the tech stuff. This kind of tech stuff anyway. Oh, yes, I've been into Austin because he got that, and there's all these other devices that's really cool that was like, blast that sound out.
Thank you again for inviting me.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I was so stressed out doing this, I didn't think I was gonna take this over. Oh, I don't think I enjoyed it again.